Okay, this is a test video of sorts. What I'm making right now is some beef bone broth. I've been hearing a lot about the benefits of bone broth, particularly to boost your immune system. And with everything we have going on now with the coronavirus, COVID-19, and it being so hard to find products on the shelf, such as emergency and even vitamin C tablets, I decided to take my best friend Anita Norwood's advice from years ago and make my own bone broth. So I'm going to show you the ingredients that I have for it. It takes a long time. You have to be patient. It will simmer for several hours. The minimum number of hours is, I believe, 4 hours, but I plan to let it simmer for about 10 to 12 hours. So let me just show you what it is that I have, that I'm working with. You can be somewhat flexible with this, but for the sake of flavor, I have a few things that I added myself. First of all, of course, is your bones, your beef bones, and you want to get a good quality grass-fed beef and have the butcher cut it into workable pieces. You're going to start out by roasting the bones or baking them and let it break down. And then you add, after you've roasted them, you add your vegetables for flavor and also for their own independent benefits, health benefits. So because I'm working with, my goal is to boost my husband's and my immune system and also pass this along to my daughters. We're going to be using ginger, also turmeric, garlic as well. I'm adding a yellow onion, some celery, and a carrot. Those are for the benefits of boosting your immune system. Also, for flavor, I will be adding a pepper. And the recipe I look to that I like the most ask for a chili pepper, but I couldn't find any chili peppers. So this is, I believe it's pronounced poblano pepper. Look it up, Poblano pepper. It's somewhat mild, has a little bit of heat to it, and that's what I want right now. It's just a little bit of heat and the flavor. Also, bay leaves for flavor. I like to flavor with herbs. So instead of gathering thyme, the other, rosemary and all that, I have here Herbes de Provence. And it actually has several herbs in it. I have to hold it closer so I can read it because I have 63-year-old eyes. It has thyme, rosemary, basil, marjoram, sage, fennel, and lavender. So that'll give it a nice flavor. Also, peppercorns, kosher peppercorns. And I'm just going to add about a tablespoon of kosher salt, probably not even that much, but about that much. Later on I'll taste it. And first of all, I'm going to cover the bones with some purified water and then cut the vegetables into fine pieces and let it simmer. Last but not least, I'm going to put a tablespoon full of apple cider vinegar into the product. This is the kind with the mother. It's not that name brand that we all like to get, but it's just as good. It's got the same thing. It's organic. So what I'm going to do right now is go off camera and put everything in my slow cooker. And I'll tell you about my slow cooker later on because I just love it. It's more than just a slow cooker, and I use it more than I use my stove. So for now, I'm going to go off camera. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, the goal when I get done is to fill up 2 of these quart jars. Okay, and it's a nice top rather than that tin one that goes bad. I bought these at Meijer. Okay, so I'm going off camera now, and let's see what happens. Okay, this is part 2 of my bone broth tutorial, if you will. I have gotten the bones in, the beef bones in, all of the vegetables that I mentioned in the last video are in. I covered it with water. I put my seasonings in. So now, and by the way, I used a liner so that it'll be easier for me to transfer it without all the dipping and so on and so forth. But I'm going to be skimming off the excess grease after this process is over with, but this just makes it nice for transfer. Now, I have set the timer on it for, actually, I thought I set it for 12 hours. Let me go back. Okay, so I have it on, I'm using the slow cooker function, and I have it for 12 hours on low. That should be plenty. And now I am going to cover it up. And I said before I was going to tell you about my device that I'm so in love with. This is the Ninja cooking system, Auto IQ, and this is actually my second one. I literally burned the first one out because I use it so much, because it has so many great features. Slow cooker, you can steam. This is how I boil my eggs. I don't put eggs in a pot anymore. I put them on steam for 14 minutes and then take them out and put them in a shocker cold bath with ice cubes and water. Never have a problem with peeling. That's just a little tip. That's for free. You can also use the stovetop, and you can use bake. That's what I did for the bones. I put them on the bake feature for 40 minutes. So that's what I love to use it for. Now, actually, this left side of this for quick meals, for layered bowls, grains, and poached, I have never used those features, simply because I don't know how and I haven't taken the time. So that's just a little tip. This thing is awesome, awesome, awesome. I love the Ninja products. I also have just recently purchased the Ninja 5-in-1 grill and air fryer. Love it too. So that's going to be for now. I'm going to come back when this is all done. It'll probably be a part 3, simply because I don't know how to put, you know, more than one video together. So we'll see what happens. Okay, this is the final steps of the process for making the bone broth. The broth had been simmering overnight for 12 hours, and then I let it stay in just the warmer until I got up, which was about an additional 4 hours. So all in all, it's been in my slow cooker for about 16 hours. And so the first thing I did, once I got back to my process, is to remove the bones. And you'll see that they are a different color now. Of course, the baking process took care of part of that, but also the turmeric. Turmeric colors everything. So note to self, if you're cutting up turmeric or using turmeric, you want to use some gloves, unless you just don't care if your fingers turn yellow, because eventually it's going to wash off. But that's mainly from the turmeric. So I removed the bones, and I'm not going to throw them away just yet, because I have been advised that the marrow in the bones is very helpful for arthritis. So I'm going to try and find a palatable recipe for what to do with the bone marrow. I understand that I can eat it or make it into a smoothie, but I got to find out, or put it in a smoothie, but I got to find out what's going to make it taste good enough for me to keep this up. Now, I do have arthritis. I do have problems with inflammation, and I am willing to try some things, especially if they're holistic and if they're natural, so that I can feel better and move better. So, that's just my little thing. So I will be giving this a try. I understand it takes about a day for the bones to dry out and for you to be able to transfer the marrow for further use. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover them, set them aside, and let them dry out. The second thing that I did was to remove the vegetables and the herbs. And what I did was to just use this, I don't know what you call this thing, it's a skimmer, I guess. I use it for mostly for Chinese cooking in the wok and so forth. You use what you have. And this time of COVID-19, we're only supposed to go out for essential things. So there's some tools that might have worked better, but I'm using what I had. So I skimmed that out, dipped out all the vegetables. They no longer have any use. There's no nutritional value. There's no flavor. The flavor is cooked all out on, so we just don't need it anymore. I'm going to discard it. I just wanted you to see what it looks like after it's all cooked down. Then what I did was to pour the broth. And what I did, I poured the broth into a pot and my plastic colander, along with some cheesecloth. Of course, this isn't what I use because it's nice and clean. And that helped to remove any additional particles of the vegetables, of the herbs, of the spices, because you want your broth to be nice and clear. Now, I actually did that process twice, and it worked out really well because there was still some little particles that I don't want to have in the broth. When you drink the broth, you want to have just clear liquid. You don't want any chunks or any bits. And once I did that, I went ahead and poured them into my 32-ounce jars. And you see, I was telling you yesterday about these great tops. But before I sealed the top, and let me just backtrack and say, when I poured them into the jars, I actually put a little piece of cheesecloth on there for additional straining. But when I poured them into the jars, another thing I did, and see right now it's solidified, or it's getting more solid, is I went into each jar and just dipped out as much of the fat that I could without compromising the broth. So you see here, this is from both jars. I skimmed off as much as I could, and for these two jars, let's see, the measurement is, this is approximately 6 ounces of FAT fat. This is 6 ounces of fat that I was able to skim off. And you can see that there's still a little bit more. And what I'm going to do with that, I'm not going to mess with that because I don't want it to mix all in to the broth. I'm just going to take it, put them in the refrigerator, and once it actually gets solid, I'm going to scrape that off just with a tablespoon and get rid of it. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to put these in the refrigerator. I'm going to label them so nobody thinks this is apple juice or some kind of other kind of beverage, because I've had that happen before. My kids come over and they just reach in the refrigerator and they don't know what they're drinking. So I'm going to label it, put it in the refrigerator, and give it a shot. Now, I understand you can drink 4 to 6 to 8 ounces. One video that I researched said that you can drink this every couple of days if you want to. And I'll probably do that. I'm going to have some later on today. And let's see, today's Tuesday. I'll probably do another one on Thursday. I'll get my husband when he comes home from work to give it a shot. And I hope that this has been helpful to you. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe because I don't know if I'm going to be doing videos more often. This is the first time I've done one in a long, long time, and even what I'm doing now is a lot different than what I used to do. So this is, like I said, this is just kind of an experiment, but I wanted to share with you what I'm doing. And when I posted it on Facebook, a few of you said you would like to get the recipe, so I figured I might as well make a little video, right? I will put the recipe in the description box below, though. You can give me a thumbs up, and I will leave it available for comments. Thank you so much. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy. This is Venus.